I just want to say welcome. Thanks for doing this and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. My pleasure.
So this will be, we're Minnesota Public Radio, so we'll be talking a lot about your time at the Guthrie. So in
Great.
1995, you had started your first season at the Guthrie, and you had started doing work there, and you had worked there until about 2008.
Right.
Um, and so I'm curious as to just what had brought you there, what had brought you to Minnesota, what had brought you to the Guthrie.
Um, well, the first production that I did there was Big White Fog.
Hmm.
And that I'm just trying to think of how it related to because I was the resident costume designer at the Arena Stage starting in about 92.
Right.
So there was some, somebody realized that, I was there. The Big White Fog was it's a play that isn't done very often, but it centers on a family, an African American family in the 1930s. And so, I think that we were at a period where, one, there were grants that were being written to uh, engage more people of color into the industry, into the theater industry, the
Right.
entertainment industry. And that was one of the reasons I believe that I was invited to the Arena Stage. I had just graduated in 89, sorry, from NYU, from graduate school, with a master's in both set design and costume design. Well, it was largely costume design and then set design. Because, as it turned out, my career has really been based in my work as a costume designer. I wasn't engaged to be a set designer
Hmm.
in my career, which was, it's fine, and that was what was near and dear to my heart. And so through a number of years working as uh, first a freelance designer and then as a staff member at the Arena Stage, I was also managing freelance work outside of that. And I was invited to the Guthrie to design Big White Fog, and then after that, soon after that, and partly because I had been introduced to Joe Dowling a couple of years after that, because I believe that Big White Fog was before Joe took over, maybe.
Hmm.
I'm just trying to recall all that, but uh, somewhere in there, he took over as artistic director
Hmm.
at the Guthrie, and I had met him doing work at the Arena Stage, and I was invited to design A Midsummer Night's Dream. I'm just trying to
Right.
think if there was anything that came before that because I did design so many productions, but there Midsummer Night's Dream was there. I designed a production of Julius Caesar there.
Blithe spirit.
Later, a Blithe Spirit, yes, absolutely. I ended up Merchant of Venice was one.
Right.
Amadeus was one. I did some other productions. I
Pirates
did
of
some
Penzance.
Pirates of Penzance, yes.
I have a list.
In this, okay, okay, you can name them all.
Yeah.
So there was
Yeah.
there was a lot of work that I did at the Guthrie, and I'm so grateful to the Guthrie, to the company, everyone
Right.
there. I really created an artistic home there, and had the opportunity to work with some huge and amazing talent, in the costume shop
Hmm.
and throughout as collaborators. So I just feel very fortunate to have been pulled into the to that community.
You mentioned some shows, but were there any shows that stick out to you in your mind, or any pieces from those shows that you like that you can see or cherish?
Well, I would say Midsummer is one that I raise up as the just one of the most delightful and dynamic productions that I've ever been a part of. I would say that Amadeus is one of those as well. I really loved that those both of those productions.
Yeah.
And it was because of the scope of those productions and what I had done to date, and the fact that I was invited in to reimagine both of those stories, and
Right.
so that was really really quite exciting.
So you started with the Guthrie in 95, and then in 96 you received your first Tony nomination.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then you continued to work at the Guthrie, but also on Broadway and now in Hollywood.
Yep.
Is there, like, for you, what is the major difference working on major projects on Broadway in New York and Hollywood versus a regional theater like it here in Minnesota?
It's really the size and scope. I mean, I think that I'm using the same creative muscles, the same intention, as far as character development, storytelling,
Right.
emotional arc. I mean, all those things are, those are consistent throughout. Those are necessary in telling the story, and what I bring to it. I mean, it's always going to be informed by who is directing and what their point of view is, and then who the actors are playing those roles, and even designing the same play or the same musical with a different director, with a different cast, is always going to be something different. It's
Right.
how I imagine it will be something different. I hope that it will be something different, because that's actually what keeps me engaged, and what makes it exciting for me. But I don't know. I think that the having the when I compare what it was to design A Midsummer Night's Dream at the Guthrie versus designing Wicked, it's just more of the excitement, the engagement, the creativity, and because there are more bodies to clothe, and there is a
Right.
more expansive environment to create, to imagine, and but you're also, you're comparing, what is normally, it might be a 6-month process of designing, or 8-month process of designing, and then you go into creating those costumes, which might be a 10 week, if you're lucky, 10 weeks, anymore within the world of regional theater. You compare that to what was for me a year and a quarter of designing, and then going into production for the film, and then shooting. And I was in London for a year and a half, so it correlates. I mean,
Hmm.
there's the way that time is, kind of expands, and that's because within the film industry, there's the financial support that is involved, and the marketing, and just the other parts of that machine are larger,
Well,
and then also the audience is
mhm.
broader as well. I mean, now Wicked is a global event, and
Hmm.
that is really exciting.
And I mean, so much of marketing comes from your what your characters look like. Those posters, those
Mm.
character posters, those are always huge, and seeing those first looks, right?
Yeah, definitely. And that's really exciting for me. It's really exciting to go from, what is, was beautiful. And I honor, the Minneapolis, and what that space was. And, to talk to you today, I mean, that was a very formative part of or period of my career, my creativity, and to now see the marketing for Wicked all over the world, and how it's embraced. I mean, it's just really, it's mind blowing. And then to receive the Oscar for that as well,
Yeah.
it's like it's doubly mind blowing. But I think that it is still, my approach, my engagement to the work has not shifted that much.
Hmm.
I mean, it's still, hopefully, it's still with the same intent, and with the same passion.
Right. And you said it's formative. I'm curious into, like, what way was those years at the Guthrie formative in Minneapolis formative for you?
Well, it gave me the opportunity to, as I was saying, work with, these amazing and talented artisans in creating the design. I mean, I've said before, when I've talked about the work, and also just, how I prioritize. If you go to my Instagram page, and you'll see, it's so important to me to shine a light on all of the other elements that are involved in creating the costumes, and those elements are created by other people who have specialized talent.
Hmm.
And so, I can't do what I do in a vacuum. I have to collaborate with costume makers of all sorts, whether it's tailors and dressmakers and shoemakers and milliners and other fabric manipulators,
Right.
whether they're dyeing and painting, or they're pleating it up and doing other things, so that they make it so that I can create in a fuller way. And so it's really important to, and I think that important for audiences to know that it's not just me coming up with this idea and then it magically appears on stage. I mean, there is a process of getting it to become, to manifest, and there's great artistry that goes into that process. And
Hmm.
so, because that has always been a part of how I operate, how I work, how I design. I also, I think that, I want to honor those people who bring their passion to my process. And that was one thing that was really outstanding, really, at the Guthrie and working at the Guthrie, because they were one of the few theaters at that time when I was working there that had a full-time staff of really amazing costume makers. I think the Arena Stage as well had that, but that was coming out of a different. It was a different era of theater making, and
Hmm.
in the world of regional theater.
I have to say, so I reached out to the Guthrie because I was like, I'm talking to Paul, and I was like,
Okay.
do you have photos or examples of some of his work that I can maybe we can talk about? And I have some of it,
Mm.
and some of it is, I mean, it looks like like spiritual predecessors to the
Oh
Wicked,
gosh.
to Wicked almost.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes,
you
that
have,
is that's Midsummer Night's Dream. Yeah.
yeah, you
That's
have,
actually I think that's the second version. We did one that was we did an earlier one, and
mhm.
then that was one that was part of a gala that might have been 10 years later,
Oh no way,
maybe.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you have that contrast, you have that magical realism. I mean, you have
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
And then and then even here, I think this one I think is the most damning piece of evidence. If if there was evidence,
Uh-oh.
is we have Hamlet, which I mean that neckline looks like
Oh my
Madame
gosh, I forgot
Morrible's
about that.
neckline.
Yeah, right, right. That's right. That's right. I guess it's point of view. It doesn't. At least I'm consistent.
I mean, you
Yeah,
have a style, right? Like your
yeah,
style
yeah.
comes through, and it's. I mean, like I don't know if you can talk a little bit on that. Like how comparing now that
Yeah.
work to what to that Oscar award winning work.
Sure. I mean, I think that we talk about consistency. Really it just speaks to what my sensibility is and what I'm drawn to, and those things that I'm drawn to. That first photograph where I see the ombre of the hair, and uh, and you see that in Wicked, but that is, I'm drawn to a visual that incorporates that. Because there is
Hmm.
something about that in my brain, in my being, that that where that feels magical, it
Right.
feels otherworldly, and so I introduce that as an element into how I imagine the rest of the world. Where that is hair, you see that same kind of ombre on Glinda's dress for the Ozdas ball, and that, so there is definitely, and like you pointed out on Gertrude's dress, that, which is based on a Dior dress that
Right.
was of the period, because we had said it in the 1950s. That kind of sculptural sweep, which I find very elegant, I introduce that into Madame Morrible, because that I'm trying to create that same kind
Right.
of essence. And so there's always going to be a quality that is a go-to, but that's because of how what my lens is, and how I've taken in research and then reimagined it for these other worlds. So, I
Hmm.
think that it's really interesting for you to point that out, definitely.
You are the first black man to win an Oscar for costume design.
That's
Um,
right.
when you won, there was a brief moment of shock that sort of flit over your face.
Yes.
What do you think young Paul Tazewell, working at the Guthrie, would think of where his career has gone?
Oh, young Paul Tazewell had those dreams, but he had no idea, one, how it was going to happen. Because at that time, it's if you go back before I was hoping to be a costume designer, I was hoping to be an actor and a dancer. And so that was as far as my imagination had carried me, and then going through the process of shifting focus to, still being engaged with the entertainment industry or still being engaged with creating
Hmm.
theater, and shifting to a world that was driven by design. That was something that I loved to do when as a side gig, because I was doing it in high school. But I didn't know that I was going to make a career of it, and it's just it's I to look back on it, it's a beautiful evolution and is very connected to everything that I am. I look, what one of the things that makes me so passionate about the work that I do is that I'm able to um, create with everything that is exciting for me, whether it's researching or it's drawing and painting. When I'm, drawing a sketch of a character, it is the character development, which is that which was so exciting for me as a performer, as an actor. It's understanding movement, the movement of bodies in space, and the movement of fabric on the body. That affects how I design, and that goes back to myself as a dancer and my training as a dancer. It's collaboration with other people and being engaged with other people, which is my love. It's always been my love of the theater community, and coming together to focus on this one thing, to be intent about what this story is.
Mm.
And so, it's all these different elements that collectively come together to create
Hmm.
my career or my profession as a costume designer. It's inclusive
Hmm.
of all those things, and that is really that's where my heart is. And,
Hmm.
it's so beautiful to then be acknowledged for that, because I'm using the same. I mean, I'm drawn to the same elements whether I'm designing something for stage or I'm designing a massive film like Wicked.
Hmm. And so you've said that you've seen the complete cut of the film, part one and part two.
I haven't seen part two.
You
I
haven't
have
seen part
not been.
two.
No, no. I've only
Okay.
seen part one. Yeah, so I
Okay.
can't.
Is
I can't
there?
speak very much about part two
Okay.
just because I don't know. I mean, I know what we did. I know
Okay.
what was filmed because I designed all those things and I was
Right.
there for all that filming. But I don't know what the experience of the second film
Okay.
will be. I have heard that it is an amazing ride and that people are very excited about it. So that makes me super excited.
Well, an Elphaba goes through a particular evolution,
Yes, she
and
does.
I'm curious. Do you have any? Can you give any taste of what working on that evolution was like?
Well, I mean, just from the very beginning, when I was having early conversations with John, and Cynthia had not yet been cast. John was still in the casting process, and I was filled with so much joy when I realized that when John shared that they were having conversations with Cynthia, because that was how I was starting to see how we would realize Elphaba. I mean, that we would it's, for me as a designer, and being connected to performance and just, trying to get an understanding of who the characters are. I have to find, who am I in this story? How do I best tell this story and understand these characters so that I can make this point for audiences?
Hmm.
And part of that engagement with the story of Wicked was Elphaba as a person of color and how she walks through life and how she uh, manifests her own internal power, how she realizes herself. And my direct connection to that is being a Black man walking through life and figuring out how do I manifest my own internal power.
Mm.
And so that, that was huge for me to then know that a talent the likes of Cynthia Erivo, who's magnificent, and that I had already worked with on Harriet, would be taking on this
Hmm.
role. Beyond, her amazing voice and, just her tenacity. She's a brilliant actress, and I knew that she would respect this role in a way that would transcend all of other productions of Wicked, and I think that she has indeed done that. And to be able to walk by her side in support of her and how she was creating that role and create a world that was around her that would really shine a light on this story of marginalization and also love between these two characters.
Hmm.
It's that it resonates so directly to me and and my own life and how I walk through life. So it was quite a gift, quite a gift.
Absolutely. I'm sure even a bigger gift to win an Oscar for that work too, to be then
Absolutely,
recognized.
absolutely, absolutely.
And are there any other projects that you're currently working on at the moment that?
I'm working on the next Steven Spielberg film, which is really exciting. It's the second one around, because I did West Side Story, and
Right.
that was a delightful process as well. And so this is really exciting. I'm really excited to work with Steven again. And yeah, I'm just, waiting in anticipation of the next big thing. It's where I'm very excited for everyone to see For Good, the Wicked 2 film, because there's so much visually that it will be exciting for audiences. And it's also, each scene by scene was very, very moving, and how
Hmm.
those characters evolve. So I'm excited about that. But other than that, I'm taking a breath
Right.
and connecting to life, and really just enjoying the ride. I mean, it's been from the inception of Wicked the film and through the creative process and up till to the excitement of last week and now, and it's just been so huge and just abundantly joyful, and so just wanting to stay present with that and take that all in is has been really important.
Hmm. Planning on coming back to Minnesota anytime soon?
I certainly hope so. I've got great friends there. So, some of my best friends, or one of my absolute best friends is there. So I'm sure that I will be there. It's just been about timing.
Right.
But it's like now that we're moving into the spring, hopefully, I think that I'll have more of a chance of getting there. I was talking to somebody. I was like, I remember when I was doing the first Midsummer Night's Dream. That was probably the single coldest winter that I've ever spent anywhere. That was just so brutally cold. And it always seemed like I was getting asked to design something right in the middle of January. So it's nice to I know that your springs and summers
Right.
are really beautiful. So I look to that time as well.
The cold pays for the beautiful springs and summers. We have
Absolutely,
to.
I
There's a
understand that.
trade-off
I
there.
understand that.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
Is there anything else that I missed that you'd like to talk on, or do you feel?
I don't think so. I mean, I think that, it's like just anyone out there who, finds what my story has been inspiring. I just, I appreciate that I'm held in that honorable space and just hope to continue to do things that are inspiring. Yeah.
Well, congratulations again, and I appreciate you talking to me.
Thank you so much. It was great to talk to you.